Good morning, everyone. So, welcome to my channel where I am running a series of mastering of soft skills. It's a wonderful journey. If you haven't seen my videos where I've started this series of soft skills and communication, please go through it and start watching it so that it transforms your lives, help you achieve whatever you are desiring for. So today we are going to start another part, which is a part of communication itself, and that is listening. Well, a lot of people think that only communication, verbal, non-verbal, comes as a part of soft skill. However, listening is also a part of communication, because if you have seen my first video where I have shown you there is a sender and there is a receiver. So a receiver has to listen, encode the idea, and then only reciprocate the information the other person is going to pass on. So there are two kinds of listening. One is passive listening and one is active listening. Well, if a person is in passive listening mode, sometimes misunderstandings happen, sometimes any kind of a situation happens where they are not able to understand, frame any sentence in the brain or understand the context about it. So what is active listening? Active listening is where your brain is actively listening what the other person is saying and you are able to understand each and everything. However, passive listening is something where you are physically present over there, but mentally you are not listening, or maybe you are in a different thoughts or in different world. Maybe you remember an incident when you were in school, some teacher was teaching and everything was going over your head. That means you were physically present there, but mentally you were not present there. And that's what lead to passive listening, where your brain is actively not engaged listening to it. So if you see this diagram of active listening, how do you create that active listening? Yes, there may be certain incidences where you feel sleepy, you feel bored, but you still have to attend that session or that class or listen to your manager. Then how to become attentive, how to become that active listener so that you listen to the other person carefully. And that's the first thing that you start with doing, is be attentive. Rewire, train your brain in such a way where you train your brain and tell it to be attentive. Make notes, start writing, look in the eyes of the instructor or the person who's speaking to you. Try to keep your thoughts controlled and then be attentive, because this is the first step. If you want to be a good active listener, you need to start being attentive. Next comes is ask open-ended questions. That means if you are not able to understand anything, because a lot of people fail to ask questions if they have not understood anything or if they haven't listened anything. Now, what are open-ended questions? Where you give the other person a chance to speak in an elaborate manner rather than one word answer or a one word question. So always ask these open-ended questions where if you haven't clarified a particular topic or a thing, the other person will clarify it by your question, maybe in a more clearer way. Always ask probing question. If you're not understanding anything, if you're getting bored, always probe question that the other person understands your issues that you're not able to understand, and the other person can break down that information into small bits and pieces, and then those probing questions can become a help. The other person also understands that this person is unable to understand and I need to break down this information to make it simpler and clearer so that the other person understands. Still, if you're not able to understand, you are being attentive, you are asked open-ended question, you asked probing question. Still, if you feel that you haven't understood it, always request for clarification. Most of the people, if you don't understand, if you ask them gently and politely that you haven't understood it, the other person is going to definitely explain it to you. Maybe the chunk of information you have understood, but maybe 10 or 20% you haven't understood. Please ask the person to explain, rather than you assuming, rather than you creating that information in your brain that you think you have understood. But a slight doubt is there in your mind where you think that requires clarification. Please go ahead and do it, because anybody who's speaking, anybody who's talking is definitely going to give you an answer. As I just said, that whenever there is an important discussion between you, your team members, or your managers, or if you are giving any kind of an interview, if you're following all these 4 points, make sure you're writing. Understand, when you're writing, it is creating an impression in your brain and it becomes easier for the other person to understand. So even if you have listened, if you have written notes, if you have written everything, go back and revise, go back and read, so it becomes more clearer. So when we were in school, our teachers always used to give us things to write, and then we used to make notes, and then we used to go back home, we used to revise, and then maybe after 2 3 days our teacher used to take a test. What was that? That was fitting the information correctly in your brain. So that's what paraphrase means, that writing down and jotting down all the points that you think that are important. Be attuned to and reflect feelings. If you're not understanding, if you think that things are not clear in your mind, then please be attuned and reflect your feelings. Don't keep it in your heart. Don't keep any kind of a fear inside you. Don't go in procrastination mode that this is such a simple question. How can I ask? Because a lot of times we don't ask questions thinking what the other person will feel about me, or will the other person appreciate me or not. Trust me, it's better to ask and be attuned to your feelings rather than not having that information with you, which can create a problem later on because the other person will say, I already shared this with you. Were you not attentive? Where were you present? And then last, summarize it. Once you have understood the entire conversation, do summarize what it means to you. These are all the steps how you can start developing a habit of active listening. I know it can be sometimes really difficult to focus and to concentrate. But if you are keeping all these 7 active listening skills in your mind, you will start creating that focus, you will start developing interest, and this will help you to understand the context and information that the other person is sharing. That's for today. So that's what active listening is about. So active listening is interesting if you really focus, create that interest, and develop certain small habits in your routine to listen to the other person. If you haven't subscribed my channel yet, you are missing out on great information that can help you succeed in your career and in your life. Please like, share, and subscribe my channel, and go and watch the videos if you haven't yet. I'll see you soon. Bye bye.